no one's coming to save you. It's on you, and you take that responsibility.
Yeah. People see the Ferrari, but they didn't see the 1,000 doors that you knocked on.
I don't have a Ferrari, by the way, just in case. I'd like a Ferrari. That'd be comfortable. No,
I just held back something there.
Sometimes you need someone to push you, but also sometimes you need someone to pull you along with you. So come with me, let's go.
why is discomfort necessary for growth?
As men, should we find the replacement for that person pushing you on?
What do you think the biggest discomfort that men try to avoid?
If you're comfortable, you're not going to change anything. And without change, so if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Welcome to the Men's Collective podcast. In this space, we keep the conversations real, inspiring, and challenging you to become the man you are destined to be. Your family needs you to be better. Your friends need you to be better. We need you to be better. We are your hosts, the Average Joes.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Men's Collective podcast. We are your Average Joes. Wayne Taylor is my name. And as always, I'm joined by three of my good mates, Jamie, Mikie, and newcomer to the panel, Peter. Welcome, lads.
Thanks, mate, boys.
Bit of a different time of the field for this recording. It's, as Mikie mentioned, a bit of a difference in enthusiasm or energy levels or...
I'm pumped, mate. Let's
I'm feeling
Let's
good.
do this.
I'm feeling good. Let's just give Mikie a chance to kind of catch up.
Yeah, I'll meet you halfway.
Well, today we're diving into a topic that came about from a conversation that I was having during the week with Mikie, whilst we were in a very awkward situation. And we were both sitting side by side in a very tight sauna, feeling very weird. And we got talking about how uncomfortable it was actually sitting side by side in our underwear, sweating away. But how beneficial it was to sit there in that situation. And Mikie came out with the expression of, I guess it really comes down to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And the phrase instantly got me thinking, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Let's face it, as men, we're often conditioned to seek comfort, to avoid vulnerability, and to stay in our safe zones. But what if true growth and true strength lies on the other side of that discomfort? So today I want to join the boys and dissect this topic, break it down, and challenge ourselves to take action to become better men. From the perspective of seeking discomfort, we'll be asking questions like, why do we as men tend to shy away from discomfort? How do we reframe our perception of discomfort as an opportunity for growth? And how does embracing discomfort contribute to becoming better men? Not just for ourselves, but like we say, for our families and also for a society as a whole. Also excited to hear from you, our audience. So if you do have any thoughts or questions whilst listening to this, reach out and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Before we dive in, I'd like to thank our sponsors for your weekly support of this podcast. Thank you for believing in the message here at Average Joe's enough to put your money where your mouth is. It's always appreciated. And don't forget, like and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. You can also join the online community at averagejoes.net.au, purchase a bit of Average Joe's merch, and like we say every week, make sure you get along to your AJ's meetup. You can hit up the website and find out where all those details are. So, gents, let's get uncomfortable. I want to start, like we do every week, with a simple yes or no question, and I'm going to come back to you as your reasons why. Jamie, I'll start with you, bud. Is discomfort necessary for growth? Yes or no?
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
Mikie, is discomfort necessary for growth?
100%, mate.
Pete, your thoughts, bud?
Absolutely.
All right, let's come back to you, Jamie. So we've all said yes. I would say most of the time yes. So I'll go with a yes. But let's break it down. Jamie, why is discomfort necessary for growth?
Well, it all comes down to your comfort zones, doesn't it? Like if you're comfortable, you're not going to change anything. So, and without change, so if nothing changes, nothing changes. So, you know, you need something to sort of get you into that next stage, especially if you want to progress. You know, you have to go to that next step, and that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. You know, if you've done something 100 times, it just gets repetitive. Yeah. So I think you've got your comfort zone, which is where, you know, you feel safe and all the rest of it. I think you've got a learning zone, which is pushing you slightly out of that comfort zone. But then also you've got a danger zone where sometimes we go too far, we lose our confidence, and that puts you back into the comfort zone. So the more time you can spend in that learning zone or feeling uncomfortable, the better it is.
Good call. Mikie, why?
Well, I think the discomfort is the byproduct of improvement. So if you are actually improving, it's something that's going to be inevitable. So yeah, there's no way around it. I look back to any good day in business, any easy day, relaxing day, on holiday, what did I learn? What did I improve? Nothing. It was an easy day. I wasn't tested. I've gone through the motions. Every time you're tested, even in your worst moments, that's where you come through the other side and you reflect back and you see the growth you've had.
Fair call. Pete, why, buddy?
Well, I think where does the discomfort come from? The discomfort comes from the fact that we are either uncertain of what the outcome is going to be, so that creates discomfort, or discomfort in that we're uncertain of whether we can succeed in what we're wanting to do. And yeah, when I think of this sort of a topic, I always go back to when we're kids. Everything's uncomfortable at first, and I'm watching my 4-year-old at the moment. He's really good on his bike, but now he's learning to ride without one hand, and my 8-year-old's learning to ride without both hands. And over the 2 weeks we've been camping up here, both of them have stacked it. Both of them have come home with scrapes and burns and cuts and wounds and all the rest of it. But when we were kids, it was so normal to be uncomfortable and constantly testing those boundaries, either because we wanted to do something and that was our nature. We hadn't learnt these fears and the bits and pieces, or our parents are kind of encouraging us and pushing us. But I think that's the thing is, as we get older, who's the one doing the pushing anymore? It becomes up to us. And it's very easy just to go, oh no, I won't get back on that bike. Last time I got on there, I fell over and I cut myself. And the parent or someone else isn't there anymore to go, mate, come on, you fall off, you get back on, keep going. So naturally, we definitely gravitate to that comfort. There's got to be something either pushing us out of it or pulling us out of it. But without it, you don't get back on that bike and you become an adult that doesn't know how to ride.
That's true. So when I think of discomfort, right, when you're put in a situation or a situation arises as men that is very, very uncomfortable, is that an instant indicator of something that is going to have it like a good outcome? Because if discomfort is bringing along a challenge that's going to push you to be better in something, like Jamie, I know you're a gym buff. You love going to the gym every day and hitting it hard, things like that. Now, I could go so many places.
No, I just held back something.
Was he in the sauna too?
Yeah.
No, but their skin's looking beautiful with all the time they spent in the sauna.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to walk in today and go, "Why, mate, your skin's glowing." You're very strange,
glowing.
but anyway. But we've used this example before, but it's I guess in a gym perspective, you make your muscles uncomfortable. But it's in the healing process of their discomfort that brings growth, right? But does everything that brings growth have to have discomfort attached to it? What I mean by that is that, so when we are confronted with something that is uncomfortable, do we go, oh, this is uncomfortable, therefore it must be something that's going to have a good outcome to it? Or can there just be things that are uncomfortable?
I think there is things that can just be uncomfortable, like how we came up with this topic. We're sitting there.
Yeah,
it
you
was
got
only
no
when
enjoyment out of that at all.
Well, that's right. When the second you put your hand on my knee, and I'm like, well, it's good to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
I hope there wasn't too
There was
much growth
no
then.
good coming from that way.
But there was instant growth though.
Instant growth.
No, but it was true, because I will elaborate a bit more on what Michael and I were doing during the week. So we have a friend of ours, Hannah, who runs a thing called the Recovery Jungle, and does amazing work with body recovery with saunas and what's the cryovac thing where you stand in this ultra freezing thing and whatever, and these compression bags. Anyway, we went and saw her during the week, and she said, I'll put you both in the sauna to start with. No, I've been there before for a sauna, and it's basically a one-man sauna. So I kind of thought at the start she was joking. I'll start you both with the sauna. So I'm in my head, I'm going, okay, well, it must be like a bit of a rotation. But sure enough, she's like, in you get, and we're both standing here just in our underwear, and we're like, really? Because not really enough room for two.
Now, look, let's be honest. It wasn't. It was a last-minute call as well, so it's not like we put our best underwear on.
That's right. That's exactly right. She's like, "How about you come today?" We're like, "Yep, we'll see you in an hour." But we're sitting down there, and we're like, we'd been into a sauna and a heat room the week before, because Mikie and I in our family just came back from a cruise, and Mike and I jumped in the sauna together. And just saying how the heat and the steam, it's obviously it brings benefit to your body, but it brings benefit because of the effects it has. But to bring back those effects is extremely uncomfortable. Everybody likes the effect of a sauna. I don't know anyone that enjoys actually sitting in one. It's insane. it's hard to breathe, that sort of kind of stuff. But it was when we were sitting there talking about, you know, as in the physical sense, putting your bodies through something that is so uncomfortable and it doesn't like it, but yet carries so many benefits. But to sit there with such discomfort, you knew it was doing good things for you. And I guess that's what made me think, well, does everything that have that feeling necessarily have a great outcome, though?
It doesn't, but at the same time, it's probably good to approach these things with the attitude that it will. Because if you're having a tough time, for your self-preservation, I think you need to have that sunny side up kind of an attitude to go, well, there's got to be some good coming out of this. 3, 4 weeks, 6 months after the fact, you can then sit down and decide what was my growth from that. But at the time, you just need to, look up.
I think that you feeling uncomfortable is an opportunity. And it doesn't always mean that you're growing all the positive sort of side of things. Like, let's say if you see someone arguing, like a couple arguing or whatever, and it makes you feel uncomfortable and you're not happy with the way that they're conversing. Well, that's an opportunity, though, for you to actually go, actually, I'm going to say something here. Or it's an opportunity for you to step up. Or it's an opportunity to maybe pull that guy aside and say, hey, mate, look, let's not disrespect, our partners or et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes it's not always you growing as well. It's an opportunity for you to actually step into who you truly want to be and you actually making the decision on what you think is right and what is wrong. So like there's some amazing people out there, but because they're not prepared to put their perception or the way they look at things or I guess their values forward, they seem like really, really boring people because they just sit on the fence and they're like, yeah, whatever you like, all that sort of stuff. But that's not them living truly who they are. And that's the reason why, when it comes to attraction and stuff, there has to be a polarization. There has to be a difference there. Like people actually have to go, like a girl has to go, oh yeah, he knows who he is. That's going to be much more attractive than the other way. Or if you're mates with someone and you align with your values and your beliefs, that's a much stronger bond than someone who's a yes man.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What? How do you know when you actually are feeling uncomfortable? Is it a gut feeling? Is it physical? Is it mental? What is it that makes you go, oh, I'm actually really uncomfortable here?
I get the sweaty palms, get the shaky knees, get marbles in my mouth, start spitting on everything. No.
You're our sort of team.
I'd be uncomfortable at that too.
No.
Geez, we're going to have to edit some of this.
So much editing coming out of this one.
I think it can also be just the actions you take. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I may not necessarily have noticed that I was uncomfortable in that situation, but then when I look back, I go, that's interesting. Why did I avoid that? It could even be subconscious that there was not even consideration to engaging in whatever that situation was. In effect, I just fled. But then afterwards, you're like, hang on a second, why did I act like that? Why did I remove myself from that situation? And only then do I get the ability to assess it and kind of go, okay, that's interesting. Why did I have that subconscious reaction to that situation? Why did I remove myself from the place? So I didn't realize I was uncomfortable, but the reaction was just to exit.
That's an interesting thought, because if you're in a situation where your initial reaction or your initial thought is, oh, this is so uncomfortable, or I'm actually feeling really uncomfortable here, do you then stick around to face that, or do you go, no, I need to flee?
I think it depends how committed to the growth you are.
Because I'm sure we've all been in awkward, no, that's not awkward, but uncomfortable situations. But it seems to be what human instinct or whatever it is. I don't know if there's a difference between male and female here either, but when we're in uncomfortable positions, we instantly try to seek comfort. I mean, we all, especially as men, we're all providing for our families. We're all aiming to have a comfortable lifestyle as such, if you want to use the word comfortable. So we're all aiming for comfort for some way, in some way. Is that a bad thing? I want my family to be comfortable. I'm aiming for certain things. I set certain goals, and I set that so that you can sit back and go, we're in a very comfortable position. is that dangerous?
Well, so I think that's a really interesting point, because the thing is, you're right. We all aim for comfort. We all say we want our families to have a comfortable life. And as default as parents, the natural thing is we kind of go, we want to help our children. But then what's that? There's that phrase, which is, tough times breed strong men, strong men breed, good situations, good times breed weak men, and the cycle goes around. So by delivering comfort all the time, we're actually starving our family of the ability to actually grow themselves. And I forget the guy that said it was, never take the dog out of your child, as in that fight, that grunt, if you want to call it that. But so I think it's nice to have the ability to have comfort, but you don't want to remove all discomfort. Otherwise, I guess there's the answer to that question is, there is no growth, and we remove that ability for our families to grow those skills, develop those skills, and become strong human beings themselves. If it's just everything's handed on a silver platter. So that's a whole other topic right there, is wealth and families, and what should you provide your kids and what not.
Oh, we've had this conversation heaps, Mike, haven't we?
Yep.
I've got 4 kids and 3 of them being sons. I'm literally there now with, my 2 older sons. And I, again, like Mike and I've had this conversation before, but most of you know my situation, but 9 years ago I moved from Sydney to Queensland, but my business still operates down in New South Wales. But in order for that to happen, there was a lot about my business I had to restructure in regards to setting up this, systems that allowed me to not live right near it. Now, what's that shown my kids? Well, I look back now and I go, it's been, but behind the scenes, it's been immensely stressful for myself. Like for the first 2 years of living away from the business, 2 a.m. every morning, I would wake up, dry reaching off the side of my bed. I would be sitting up. Lisa would sit up and go, "What are you doing?" And I'd be sitting up on the edge of my bed at 2 a.m. in just full anxiety mode going, what have I done? I live in an entirely different state from my business. What am I doing? I've made mistakes, but I had to create a system. Now, in doing so, what it did show my kids is it showed my kids that Dad's always at home. What they didn't see was the hours gone into when they were in bed, because I did my catch up during the nights. Also did it when they were at school, but they saw Dad present morning and afternoons. But I'm a plumber. Now, plumbers normally are out early in the morning. They're gone. They come home late, like this, just the general consensus of it. But what they saw in Dad was, wow, Dad's always home. And what I'm seeing now with my older boys is it's as if I'm not putting the blame, I guess, on myself, but I think I've got to take some kind of responsibility and accountability here on myself of what kind of work ethic have they seen? I know my work ethic. I know I'm extremely hard and dedicated worker because of the effort I've put in behind the scenes in the early days. But I did that because I was aiming to get a comfortable lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I have a comfortable lifestyle, but I guess what I have shown my boys is that they see Dad at home. They don't see him working, because when they're not there is when I do all my work. But what they've seen is, that must be how men work. And now I'm trying to poke him with a stick going, oi, like you need to get out there and have a crack. And they're like, why? And I'm like, what do you mean why? This doesn't get handed to you. What you see, the house, the car, like that's not a gift. It's not, and it's making me realise that, man, I've probably given that example.
Isn't it funny though? We start doing all this stuff to give it to the kids, and then once you've got it and you can give it to them, you don't want them to have it.
It's true. I'm like, give it back, you little bastard.
Yeah,
like,
that's mine.
It's so true though. Like, yeah, we've had similar talks. Like, I always wanted to work from home. I started my own business and I work from home. And in my head, it was, I wanted to spend all the time, this time with the kids, be there to help out, all that sort of stuff. And that's all come to fruition. But then what I hadn't thought of is their experience is, A, Dad's always home. B, if you ask them, they'll tell you that Dad's always working. Now, I spend so much more time with my kids than most dads get to because of the freedom I've created in that business. But because my office is at home, there's still these other hours where they're there, Dad, can we do this? I'm like, no, mate, I'm working. Whereas normally it's you leave in the morning, you come back, and when you're there, you can be there. Whereas there's all this time that I'm at home where I'm like, no, I'm working. So their experience is that if you ask them, they'd probably tell you that Dad's a workaholic and he just works all the time. In reality, but that's going on a side topic there. But I get what you're saying there, and that it's what are they actually seeing? What's the example that's being set for them? What are they actually taking out of it?
So we've just decided that we can't win.
No, but that's the thought.
System's rigged.
Like, yeah, the system's rigged. But it does bring to light why, or should be, like, let's instead of looking at discomfort, then let's look at comfort for a second. Why do we aim for comfort? Because there's no
Feels good.
It does feel good,
It's the
doesn't it?
carrot. There's the carrot and the stick.
Well,
But
feels
couldn't
like
you
the end.
just-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Couldn't you just have a different mindset with it and go, cool, I'm going to push towards this goal, and it's not comfort, it's a reward. So I'm like, okay, this is my reward for working so hard for a period of time and then going to the next sort of thing. Like a lot of stuff for me comes down to mindset. Like when you're talking about the kids before about, we're the ones who motivating them. I think sometimes though it's the kids motivating themselves. It's the sense of wonder about what's going to happen here. If I do this, I wonder what's going to happen. I remember when I was a kid and you do crazy stuff, there wasn't someone there saying, oh, go do this. It was like, I'm going to do this and and that feeling of excitement and that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think somewhere along the lines, people start talking to you, go, oh, this is the kind of life that you want and this is how you should be like it and all that sort of stuff. And we lose that sense of wonder, that sense of pushing yourself, that sense of, excitement of going out and exploring and doing that sort of stuff. So, I don't think we have to go, oh, you should be comfortable. Like, you guys are in the trades and whatnot. Like, and how many tradies do you know that want to put on an apprentice right now? Bugger all, because all the kids, everyone says these kids are so entitled these days. Yeah. Why are they entitled? Because they think that things should be given to them. They don't have that sense of going, go out.
Because they
and
weren't
make something
flogged
happen.
at school by an angry nun. That's what it was. Stop being happy. Hey.
But you touched on goals before, and I think that's just put a visual in my head is that, like, we search for comfort, but I think it's like if you're aiming to climb to the top of the mountain, we're all chasing that feeling when you get to the top of the mountain, when you get to take in your accomplishment, where you get to go, you look around, you take it in, and there's that moment of, yes, look at what I did. And then you deserve a few moments to sit there and take that in. But then what if you just stay there? I think that's the problem there is what if you just go, oh, well, I climbed that mountain. I'm good. View's beautiful up here. But then sure enough, after a month, that view starts to maybe look a little bit stale and you start to wonder what's over the other peak. And that. So I think there needs to be that moment of, okay, we get uncomfortable, we climb, we reach some sort of resolution. We reach the end of that journey, that goal. And there is that moment of completion because if I think of one of the things that is a challenge in the business that I do is projects go for months or years. And that's something that after a while you get to a point, you're like, I just want this one to be done. I'll take 10 more on, but this journey needs to be concluded. And so I think we need that moment where we do reach that comfort. There's that conclusion, maybe need to lick our wounds a little bit, also just take in the accomplishment and then get ready to, okay, let's go again. So I think the comfort's needed. It's that completion of that cycle, but it's staying in that comfort. That's where things start to go a little bit shaky.
Well, it's interesting you say that because right before we went on the cruise, Wayne and I were doing carnivore diet. We were feeling good, and we were saying, we'll enjoy ourselves on the holiday, but not too much. Now, 3 days into the cruise,
Bro.
we're mate. So and
truth's about to
probably
come
to
out.
backstep a little bit, if you were to say to the average guy, hey, what does you've made it look like? Sitting by the pool at lunchtime, having a cocktail, relaxing, nothing to do. We're there doing it. Day 1 is great. Day 2, it's great. Day 3, we're like, man, I've got heartburn. Oh, I feel so uncomfortable.
It's legit. We went and bought some antacids, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm like, I've gone up a bra size. This is ridiculous. But that's what it was, hey. And you're sitting there going, we're not built to be comfortable.
It's true. It's like that. And I was just thinking before when it comes to comfort. You look at what because I know we've covered this before on many podcasts before, but masculine traits that make up men. Without a doubt, there are fundamental masculine traits that men have or need, and a lot of those have to do with perseverance, persistence, hardship, pushing through,
because we thrive on a bit of resilience as men, because we like challenge, because it builds up not builds up, but it allows us to work within that zone of like an authentic masculinity. So if you can reach a point where you become comfortable and there's no longer that resistance, that hardship, that push, do you think that emasculates men?
I think, look, I'm super competitive, but part of that is because I want to know where I sit in the pecking order, and I want to become, and in the gym is exactly the same. Someone's lifting more than me. I'm like, I want to lift more than that person. Like, there's no reason why I can't do that. And I think that I actually believe competitiveness is a great trait because it does push you to want to become better. Because, like you were saying before, you achieve that goal and you feel good about it, but then that feeling wears off. Like, you buy a new car and then 3 months later, that car doesn't feel the same anymore, does it? So I think that, it does demasculate. Like, you do feel, I think you've always got to try to push yourself, because really, if you're sitting where you're at, you're not becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, and you can lie to yourself for as long as you want to be. But you just, like, as I said, like I always say, is that you're not going to be perfect, but you can progress. Yeah. And sometimes when you take lick those wounds, like as you said, lick those wounds, if you don't get to where you want to be, that's been some of the most motivating times in my life where I'm like, I sit there with the football, at the end of the year thing, and you're like, oh, maybe I should, I think I might be able to win this award, and you don't win it. I've gone, next year, there's no matter what happens, I'm going to be, the best and fairest, or I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do, and that is that sort of fuel that drives you with every game that you play during that next season. So you can go, all right, that's where I want to be, And it's the same in business, is that if you're not moving forward, everyone else is moving up around you. So really you're going backwards. So I think you still got to keep pushing and keep driving. And if you do go into that danger zone and lose your confidence, it's just about reevaluating where you are and what is the next step to take you to the next part.
Yep.
Jamie and I, a couple of months ago, were talking about, we had this little bit of a bit of a friendly bet on who can reach 100 kilos the first. Not so much the fastest, but who can get there first, right?
Yeah.
Because both Jamie and I weighed very, very similar. So honest question then, right? Let's just look at it in regards to that little friendly competition that you and I have going. Let's just say it's the end of the year and we're giving ourselves, a time limit of, say, Christmas Day is the cutoff day. If you and I were neck and neck by half a kilo each, you that last week would be as strict as you would, wouldn't you? You would be going hardcore, mate. I'm a half a kilo. We're neck and neck half a kilo. I'm going neck and neck. I am pushing through.
100%.
You would resist all different types of temptations of food, and you'd be like, no, because there's half a kilo in this. Let's switch it up a bit. What if it's come up to Christmas Day, but there was 10 kilos between us and you were ahead? You would comfortably take out first spot. Would you be as strict that last week going into Christmas? Or would you kind of go, I've kind of got number one in the bag. I've already beat him. He's not going to catch up by 10 kilos. Would you pull away from being uncomfortable and just go,
Depends if you're going to tell me you're going to do a water fast in that last week or not. But no, you're
one trip to the toilet.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. You would take your foot off because now that sort of won, So yeah.
So when you're in a position of comfort, you aren't the best of yourself.
No.
It's like we're aiming for something that doesn't benefit us. Yep. But human nature likes to be safe zones, comfort zones. We like to be there. But if anything, we're not getting the best of ourselves if we're comfortable. So why do we aim for comfort then? Why is it human nature to go comfort?
Sounds good, doesn't it?
I think it's a social expectation.
I think it's that place to pause. I think it's like I touched on before. It's the end of the cycle, and then it's that starting the new cycle. Like what you were saying there. I don't know if the word I would choose is that you lose your masculinity, but definitely unless you're growing, nature. If you're not growing, you're dying. So that's so true with this because if you look at the amount of mental illness that's around, And look at the way most people are living their lives now. Very few people, I shouldn't say very few people, there are a lot of people that they're not striving for anything. They've got stuck in a spot. And if you want to call it comfort, even though it's not comfortable at all, but until you start building towards something, until you start building that muscle, it doesn't have to be a physical muscle, but whatever it is, that skill you're learning or that thing you're developing, it's those small wins, it's that progress that gives us that confidence, that gives us that that good feeling in who we are and what we are, and the fact that we're stepping forward, as opposed to I'm here, I'm doing nothing, I'm 3 days into a cruise, I've got heartburn. And it's like, but like, you know, we make that joke, but you put that out on a bigger scale. And what does that look like after 6 months? What does that look like after 12 months? I mean, it's no longer heartburn. You're seeing the heart specialist. It's, you know, but that's what we often do to ourselves is when we stay in that place of comfort, I don't know, inverted commas, comfort, we almost tend to punish ourselves after a while.
Well, you've actually just made me think, because if anything, to sit around a pool with a cocktail was very, very comfortable. But in that, we became uncomfortable, but not in a good, like that, the uncomfortable or the discomfort wasn't an indicator of growth. It was an indicator of too much comfort, maybe. Because literally, we were in a position of comfort, we're sitting by the pool having a cocktail, had too much of it, and became so comfortable that physically we were uncomfortable now.
Yep.
So it's like discomfort is actually too much comfort caused discomfort, but it wasn't the good type, because we were saying at the start of the podcast here that most of the time, discomfort is a sign of growth. But that discomfort wasn't a sign of growth. That discomfort was, if anything, a sign of too much comfort, that we were feeling physically ill.
Yep.
That's interesting in itself.
How good is it?
It's like
I think
aim.
we should test that again, though, sometime. But there's two types of discomfort, though, isn't there? There's stuff that you circumstantially come across where it's an awkward situation, but then there's ones like what Wayne did, moving up to Queensland. He planned that. He knew it was going to be uncomfortable, and he planned out and made a strategy around making that happen. And because of that, your life's gotten better. You'd say your life up here is better than it was 10 years ago?
Absolutely. Yeah, haven't regretted it. Been extremely hard. But yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There you go. So you still want to drive forward, and you're still looking to be uncomfortable with everything you do, but you're now enjoying a higher level of comfort circumstantially. Everything about your life is better, but you're still pushing for more discomfort. So do we, in the discomfort, do we naturally grow in comfort anyway? We just don't focus on it.
Well, I think the more you get yourself uncomfortable, like if you think of it as a circle, it's like you push that circle out, more and more falls into your comfort zone. So you got to keep shifting that boundary.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But inevitably your world gets better being uncomfortable, which in itself you would look at it and say, well, that's comfortable. For someone to look at for someone to walk up like your sons, they see dad at home and they go, yeah, this is what life's about. Anyone looking into your life, it looks very comfortable. It's only you that knows that you put yourself through that discomfort.
It's often the case, though, isn't it? Because also, as men, we tend to hide that discomfort.
Yep.
This is something actually I was talking with my wife about recently. We were talking about, when I go away, and I said, but there's actually a whole lot of discomfort that goes into making that possible. I just don't show it. While I'm away, I may still need to be dealing with business and this, that, and the other, but the male way of dealing with that tends to be we just keep it to ourselves. It's like, it'll be all right. I'm not, not showing that weakness, not showing that, it's not even weakness, but not showing that discomfort or anything. It's just, brave face, push on forward. And for, Christine, my wife, she's like, look, I guess that's a fair point. I never really thought about that, is that there's all this stuff that you need to do before you leave and potentially while you're away as well. But you just don't say anything about it. You just do it. But to the outside world, it's like, oh yeah, I said yes to go to LA, and I'm just going to jump on a plane and we're going to go to LA and have an awesome time. But it's like there's a whole lot that's actually happening, a whole lot of discomfort to make that possible, and a whole lot of discomfort previously to make it possible just to be in a situation to go, yeah, let's go to LA. But we often don't show it. Just like your kids aren't seeing it. It's not just your kids aren't seeing it from you. It's in general, people see the Ferrari, but they didn't see the 1,000 doors that you knocked on.
I don't have a Ferrari, by the way, just in case. I'd like a Ferrari. That'll be comfortable.
But that's the problem with comfort is you can no longer fit in the Ferrari.
Mate, I can't fit in a Ferrari anyway. Just for anyone that doesn't see me, it's height, not width. Yeah.
Mine's width.
You've brought out a good point there. Sorry, Pete, about we don't as men show our discomfort. So I wonder then when discomfort is seen, or you do notice discomfort in men.
Well, I think that's the protector coming out because you're trying to protect your family. So you want to make them feel safe. Does that make sense? But I think that's the importance of having friends or peer groups, because you can open up to them because they also have been where you're at, sort of thing. And especially if you choose your friends wisely, then they might actually be at the next level and go, it's going to be okay. And I think that what you brought up, you went, cool, I'm going to jump on a plane and we're going to, whatever happens, happens, sort of things. I think that's a really important belief for men to actually create in themselves, is that no matter what happens, we're going to be okay.
Yes.
I'm going to be able to handle it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that will give you the confidence to be able to move into more uncomfortable situations. And the truth is that we are okay. Everything that life has thrown at you right now, you've dealt with. And you've dealt with it to the best of your ability, and you're still here and you're still kicking. You know what I mean? So that is a belief that you should install in yourself, because it's true.
I think it's the other way around too, though, which this is actually, I think this is a really important point, is backing yourself and having the confidence, yes, that it'll all be okay. But it's the constantly getting yourself uncomfortable, putting yourself in situations where you have to find your way through that builds that confidence. And this is quite literally a conversation I was having with my wife recently, where I'm like, that's exactly what it is. It's just we've got to constantly do that. We've got to constantly put ourselves in positions where we don't know the answer. And often in business, that's it, isn't it? It's and not just in business, but it's like, okay, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm committed to that goal, so we're just going to figure it out. And the more you do that, the more you build that confidence in yourself that you're like, mate, I got no idea how we're going to do it, but we'll figure it out. And actually feeling comfortable in that notion that, yep, no idea, got no visibility of the path here, but we'll figure it out. We'll be okay.
So earlier on, you mentioned that it's as children, it's our parents that pick us up and tell us it's okay and keep going, push on. What you just did with your wife there was you effectively became the parent. So you were encouraging her and saying, hey, let's push on and it's going to be okay. As men, should we find the replacement for that person pushing you on?
I'm a huge believer in mentors. And that's exactly what I'm after, because I want someone that is going to call me on my stuff. Because I think no matter how good we get at it ourselves, it's always going to take someone that's potentially at that next level to go, mate, no. You've either stepped back or you're telling yourself a story or whatever it is. And I have people in my life specifically for that purpose to go, mate, call bullshit. And because the thing is too, people that have known me a long time is they know I'm, one of my mentors calls me the smart rat, as in like, part of the experiments, I've now learnt the experiment. I now know how to put on the strong face to show like I'm make myself uncomfortable, but it's actually still part of the show. And he's been with me long enough now that he can call me on that. He's like, mate, you're playing the system. Come back to me when you're ready to have a real conversation about this. You're playing it safe. And sometimes that takes multiple conversations, and sometimes he has to beat me around the ear for months before I can even see what he's talking about. But yeah, absolutely. I think we 100% need people in our lives to replace that. I guess it depends on how committed you are to growth and how far you want to go. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. Like we haven't really talked of the expanse of this, have we? It's about getting uncomfortable, but how uncomfortable? Are you trying to get to one of the lower peaks, or you're trying to get to the summit? Or you're trying to get to a place you don't even know exists yet, but you just have faith that there's something up there that I want to get to.
That's good.
You said something really good then. I like about playing it safe and tying that in with having mentors, or let's just say people in your life that can call you out. That's a really interesting thought when I think about it in regards to sometimes we play it safe because
we've looked at a situation or a circumstance and gone, okay, I need to play this safe because we've worked it out in our heads. But somebody coming from a different perspective can look at that same situation going, well, I've been there and I've been there 10 times and I know you're actually playing it too safe because I know how these outcomes play out. You need to push yourself more.
Yep.
But then we're confronted with, no, but, we've conjured up the thought or the fears or the outcomes in our head and we're like, no, but this is what I can see, this is what I'm working out. But somebody that's been there can go, I know you're playing it safe, but I know you are playing it safe because I've been there and you have a lot more room to move before it actually really is unsafe.
Yes. Yeah.
Proves the point exactly on why it's so much about community, whether it's about mateship community, business community, or whatever it is. You will get the best out of yourself as men if you have a community of people around you that can go, not only call you out on your BS, but say, I can see you are playing this too safe. Because one, because I know you, but two, I know the situation. You're playing it too safe. Proves the importance of community.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't do life alone by any means.
And because you also want people to celebrate with when you get to that summit. People that have also been through the struggles that it's a genuine celebration because you all know and can acknowledge what that person has gone through to get there. And that's something special in itself. It's like you need the people to give you the boot up the backside, but they're the ones to pat you on the back and be a part of that celebration because celebrating on your own is pretty damn boring.
And sometimes you need someone to push you, but also sometimes you need someone to pull you along with you and say, come with me, let's go. So because sometimes if that confidence is low, you might need that person to go, mate, I know you're better than this. I believe in you.
Or even pull you back from the danger zone.
Yeah,
you just talked about there too.
Yeah. So it's because when you're coaching and developing people, sometimes you're pushing them, but you're exactly right. When they're right at that danger zone, you're like, okay, just take a step back and let me help you through this next process. But also that is why coaches are so important, whether it be business, whether it be sports or the rest of it. They are looking at the process and they don't have the emotional connection there. They don't have the fear, the worry, the doubt, that sort of stuff. And it's so easy. And it's also when you're giving advice to your mate where you're like, you can tell them things that they can do, but probably if that was your situation, you'd be like, oh, that's not the way that I react. So I can tell you what to do. It doesn't mean that I would do this at that time, but this is the right thing to do. But because that emotional, you're not flooded with everything around you, which is why talking and being honest with each other is so important.
Yeah, which is one of the massive benefits, and you and I say this all the time, a lot on the podcast, but one of the biggest benefits about being involved in an AJ's meetup group is that very thing. They're having that community of men around you that can say, hey, mate, I can see here where you're battling, or I can see here where, it's discomforting for you, but I can pull you through this or push you through this. Because it does take people to go, you think that's uncomfortable? Wait until you reach the next level. You know what they say, new levels come with new devils. Because at the end of the day, we say it before, you've either gone through, going through, or going to go through what another man's gone through. And so when you can build that community of men around you and you're going through, you're facing a discomfort and you're seeking the comfort, there are men that have either been there and made it through, or been there and pulled back, or on the same level. And it's the ones that have been there and pulled through that can say, hey, listen, you think that's uncomfortable, wait until you reach the next level, because I'm now 2 levels ahead of that, and it's actually not, it might be uncomfortable right now and it may feel safe, but just wait till the next one. Just wait till the next one. And that's what it pushes us beyond where we think we can get there by ourselves, but it can sometimes take that other guy to go, no, there's actually more in you, or more that I can see in you. What do you think the biggest discomfort that men try to avoid or run away from? What's the biggest one?
The mother-in-law.
I reckon embarrassment, saving face.
Yep.
It's I think that covers so many things. That can be emotional embarrassment, that can be physical embarrassment, that can be not necessarily embarrassment, but the guy at the gym next to me is lifting more than me. Not necessarily embarrassing, but there's a challenge. We see the challenge, we want to lean into it or pull away from it. When it comes to vulnerability in relationships and those sorts of things, I know that's something I struggle with a lot when I, first started getting into relationships was, I had to keep up this facade, or I thought I had to keep up this facade of, Mr. Perfect. There's no cracks here. But that's, at the end of the day, it was all about keeping on that strong face and keeping that facade on for the public that it's, everything is solid here, all trying to avoid any form of embarrassment or showing any kind of weakness or vulnerability.
I think embarrassment's a big one. I would think, see, I'm fine with embarrassment. I don't get embarrassed a lot. I can kind of just go with it and kind of laugh with it and kind of flow with it. But I think mine would be confrontation. I'm not a big guy in confrontation. I find that extremely uncomfortable.
But I don't mean like goofy embarrassment. I mean things that sort of hit you, the things that you try and hide from the public, that you only share with the ones you're most comfortable with. When that sort of thing gets exposed, then that can be embarrassing in public.
That's okay. I know exactly what you're saying, because going back to when Mike and I were in the sauna, if I was him, I would have been embarrassed on that day.
Yeah. Your dick's pretty big when it's hard work. You fired the first shot, mate.
Well, I'm so glad we're not monetized on.
I'm not sure.
So who's coming for a sauna next week?
Who's going with Mike for a sauna?
So to get us back on track, though, I agree with you guys, and that's what I was saying before. Is that when you were talking about self-reflection, we're about walking away and asking yourself that question. That's exactly what was happening with me, because I would actually not step up when I wanted to, and then I would walk away and go, why did I do that? And I sort of felt embarrassed myself. Like, it's like, you're not actually the person that you say you are, so then you're actually sort of challenging yourself to take those actions and to become the person that you want to be. But I also see embarrassment as an opportunity as well, because that's an opportunity for you to build better bonds with people around you. Because isn't that sort of, when you're vulnerable and when something has happened, but your friends still support you, how much stronger does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
So like that is an opportunity for you guys to do that. And I've always said that relationships are built on shared experiences. They're not built on going out and getting drunk and getting blotto and that sort of stuff. Well, not good relationships anyway. Like if you see a really good bunch of mates, it's about, remember when we went on this cruise, or remember when we traveled here, or remember when we were dealing with this, or remember how we built this, or you're struggling here and we did this. Like that's where like really great relationships are built, is on the experiences that you share together.
Yeah.
Well, that brings about a thought then. So whether it be your wife, your partner, or your circle of friends, do you think as men we should expose where we're uncomfortable? Like, should people know?
Like you are in a circle, or just to people in general?
Oh, just people around us. Like I just said before, what you just said, that embarrassment's probably your biggest one. I was saying, confrontation. So we've said it on very open platform here on a podcast, but would the people around you, your circle of friends, Christina, your family, would they know that was your number one?
I don't know if they'd know it was my number one, but I don't think they'd be surprised for me to say that. Yeah.
So should we as men be more vulnerable in exposing what our discomforts are, or where we are most uncomfortable? Because you were saying, Jamie, like when you are in those situations and the circle of friends come in for that support and it makes you feel great, that proves the point right there. And then should we be more vulnerable in exposing where we are uncomfortable so that the support there is there?
I think you've got to be careful, because people can use your weaknesses and manipulate it. You know what I mean? So I think that trust has to be there.
Do you think discomfort is a weakness?
No, I think it's a warning sign. Like it's like something for you to actually go, okay, this is an opportunity to either learn or do something, or you know what I mean? It's something emotional that's telling you there's something that can be worked on here. You know what I mean? Or something that could be done. But I see the world a little bit like a filtering process, where I'll give everyone an opportunity, you know what I mean? And you have that sort of surface level, being a good member of society, all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to your emotional security and stuff like that, I think that you have to be not guarded, but you have to be able to trust those people, because that can set people back. Like, you think about the guy who is destroyed, is the guy who absolutely loved his wife, absolutely loved his family, and then the partner walks out and then treats it like it was never anything important to him. But for him, that was his whole world. Do you know what I mean? So I think that you do have to be choosy about, and maybe there's some work I need to do myself about trust and all that sort of stuff. I know that that's an area where, I can improve. But I do think that, as a guy, building trust and that's why, I can be vulnerable with you guys because I trust you. Does that make sense? But let's say in the corporate world, someone might use that to actually get an advantage over themselves, and yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to sort of open yourself up, take off the armor, and then someone drives the knife in instead of, yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. I think there's a time, there's a place, and there's the people.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily for everyone. Yeah, I think you do need to be careful there. Yeah.
Both of you boys said that what makes you uncomfortable, whether it's, someone, whatever the situation is. Is it more the feeling of inadequacy? If you were to broaden that out a bit, is that the biggest?
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good, the concern of not being enough. Yeah, because when I said embarrassment, I don't mean things like if I was to run up on stage in front of 10,000 people and trip on the way up and fall on my face, I'd be red-faced and there'd be a moment of, oh, shit. But I'm not going to lose sleep over that. I'll have a laugh about it. We'll get on with it. That's not the kind of embarrassment I mean. Yes, I think it's a deeper concern, and I think that might be scraping on it is, yes, an underlying concern of what if I'm not? What if I'm not enough?
Because if you did that when you were 14, that would have been game over, man.
I got dacked in front of about 200 people in high school when I was about 14. Wow. But yeah, that was, we had a laugh. It wasn't quite falling over on stage, but it was close enough. It was a horizontal bungee, if anyone wants to. You run, you got a cord wrapped around you, and you run and you dive as fast as you can. And anyway, it took my pants with me. They went that way and I went that way.
And a week later, he got his first girlfriend.
I did get a compliment, which kind of saved face a little bit. So that worked out all right.
It wasn't from a teacher, was it?
No, but it was one of the girls from the older grades, so that made it even better.
Yeah.
It was the principal.
You in my office.
You've actually brought to light something really good there, Pete, in regards to, I wonder if the discomforts we have as adult men stem from things that have happened from when we're younger men.
I think definitely. Definitely.
So do you think then the discomforts we have now, yes, they need to be confronted, I guess. They need to be confronted in regards to becoming better men, but do they need to more so be healed because of a trauma such as younger men? If we're carrying these discomforts now, if they're indicators of like, wow, these are areas that I am finding it so uncomfortable and it was due to this, do you think it's more of a healing process of what happened when you're younger more than you confronting a fear now that you're older?
I think it can be, but not always. Because I think sometimes we have these these fears and these concerns and things as adults, and it may be from a legitimate trauma as a young person that potentially may require some healing. I think in other cases, and this is coming directly from some work I've done in whether you call it a course or whatever it was, but we tend to make decisions this helped me see that we tend to make decisions as children about ourselves. And what causes us to make that decision may be something that as an adult we look back and go, well, that was pretty insignificant. But as a child, it was very significant at that moment. And it can be, I remember an example being, it's like you could have a child that was like, okay, my dad doesn't love me because he's never here. So I'm not lovable. You could also have someone that grew up in a very privileged household and my dad doesn't love me because I wanted a pony at Christmas and he didn't give me the pony. I'm not lovable. Now, I think we'd all agree as adults that was probably not a very traumatic event, but for that child at that exact moment, that was a trauma. They made a decision that I'm not lovable, my father doesn't love me, or whatever it might be. As an adult, you're no longer thinking in your head, people don't like me and I'm not lovable because I didn't get that pony. You've forgotten the story. It's purely the decision you made as the child, and you now carry that through your life and you view life through that lens. So I think uncovering those things, spending the time, and it can take quite a bit to find the roots of those decisions that you made and therefore the lenses you're viewing your life through, I think that can be hugely rewarding. I know I can say hand on heart right now, I would not be married had I not have done a lot of uncomfortable work in that space, because there was a whole lot of lenses I was viewing life through. And a number of those absolutely prohibited me from having a meaningful relationship that would last beyond a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And I think part of it is not only healing, but retelling the story. So putting it in a different perspective, because there is nothing wrong with you growing up without money and going, I'm going to work my ass off so I can have money for my family and make sure they don't miss out on the things I missed out on. Like, I don't think that that is a bad mentality. Do you know what I mean? So, or, my dad was an alcoholic, so I'm not going to drink as much. There's nothing wrong with these stories. Like, I think, there was something that I learnt years and years ago where people can either use their past as an excuse or they can use their past as a reason. So, and that is a choice that we can make. And that's why that self-reflection is so important, and actually going through and doing that work where, you look at, all right, this is a different lens. This is a story that I've said to myself. But stories are written and stories are created, which means that they can be rewritten, And so I think that, you can go through the healing journey and, there's a big phase now within a child work. And I think it's really, it is good stuff. But also I think there is a point where you've got to take responsibility and go, what happened in the past has happened in the past. It's up to me on how I look at that and the actions I take in the future,
Absolutely.
So, and I think that is part of the case where for you to actually go, I'm going to make a difference and make a decision about this is what I'm going to do, that is uncomfortable. Because now you are setting yourself in a position where you're like, this is the person I'm going to be and I might fail.
Well, now you've taken responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's, you've moved from a place of blame to now it's on me. It's like, if you're born poor, that's not your fault. If you die poor, that's your fault.
Yep.
If you grow up unhappy in an unhappy household, that's not your fault. If you stay unhappy, that's your fault. Yeah, at some point we've got to take that responsibility and draw a line in the sand and say, from here on out, it's me.
Yeah,
the fingers stop getting pointed.
Yeah, actually, I heard that on a podcast the other day where they were like, the best day or the most important day of a man is when you come to the realization no one's coming to save you.
Mm. Yep.
It's on you, and you take that responsibility.
We've touched a little bit on, I guess our own upbringings, and I guess on kids, I guess on, how we grow as men to be where we are now. To what degree then do we, because we're all raising kids here, to what degree do we put on purpose our own kids in their upbringing into uncomfortable situations? What extent?
I place quite a large emphasis on it. It's something that's, I debate myself sometimes how hard to push, and there's the fostering, and then there's the pushing, and then there's the pick up and dust off, and it's like trying to find the right balance of it. I got no answers there. That's that I'm absolutely trying to figure out myself as I go through, but I'm 100% clear that I need my kids to get uncomfortable and get outside their comfort zones. And just using the bike example again, it's you fall off, you get back on again, and not getting too caught up in the story of, oh, it happened once, it's going to happen again. It's like, well, no, it happened once. You've learned something now, you get back on and you do it again, and it might happen again, but you just keep doing it until you get better and you get better. So, yeah.
Do you think that's more of a fear, though, facing a fear more than a discomfort?
I think it's both.
So surely fear and discomfort tie into themselves somehow. There must be a relation between fear and discomfort. I think of my youngest son. He finds it extremely uncomfortable. Now, at home is the most funniest. His sense of humour is, it's probably going to sound bad to say this on the mic, but he has such a dark sense of humour that it's incredible. Like, we are in tears at how, like, he's so comfortable with us at home with his humour, and the top great young kid. But his biggest discomfort is approaching other people for things. He doesn't like the talking. Like, he's not shy by any means. Great big bunch of friends. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, if we'll be at a restaurant and he'll go, "Oh, Dad, I didn't get any sauce with my dinner." "Oh, okay, well, mate, the waiter's coming past now. Just ask him." "Oh, no, it's okay." "Mate, just ask him." "No, I'll rather have no sauce." Go, "Mate, what's the problem?" He would rather now eat dinner without sauce because asking the waiter, he's like, no, I'll just go without. And it's put me in a position in the times in the past where I'm like, "Mate, if you don't," so I'll then switch it up and I'm like, "Okay, we're going out for lunch now. Here's money for you because you want to go get Macca's. My other kid wants Subway or whatever. All right, mate." And he would rather, "Oh, no, I'll just go hungry." Go, "Mate, join the line and just go order your food." "No, it's okay, I just won't eat." And I'm like, mate, so I've put him in that position many times, and it makes me wonder, am I putting him not so much in a too harder situation, but am I feeding this discomfort that he will look back on more as now, am I creating a trauma for him? Or as his dad, am I trying to put him in a situation where I'm going, "This is not a big deal, mate," because even for him, it's huge. But I challenge myself and I'm going, is this going to become a trigger in the future that's sparked from a childhood trauma that I created because I'm constantly trying to put him in a situation that's uncomfortable for him? Because for me, it's not uncomfortable because I want to push him and I know it's not big.
So we had a podcast and you said make a decision, and then act quickly, correct?
Decide prior, then act fast.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you learnt that over a period of time, So education is the important part of it. So actually sitting him down and saying, "Mate, I think, all right, so I've noticed that this happens. Is that what you want for the rest of your life? Do you want to actually go out to a restaurant and not be able to get what you want because you're not prepared to ask for it? Is that going to be good for you in long term?" Yeah. So let's go out and let's make you order this. Yeah. And then if something's wrong, you're going to say it and get that commitment beforehand, because I think it is important. So I'll use a different analogy, right? Growing up, I used to do a lot of silly stuff. We used to wakeboard behind cars, climb mountains without ropes, like all heaps of silly stuff, right? So when I went bungee jumping, I had no issues with it whatsoever. I was on the edge. I was like, this is going to be great. You know what I mean? The guys were sitting behind me going, "What the hell is wrong with this guy? This is not how people react and whatnot." So, and I was probably a bit of cool, calm. Yeah, this is the tough guy, whatever. But I was on the edge. Yeah. And then they went, "Cool, 3, 2, 1." And I actually went to jump. And my mind was going jump and my body was going, "Screw you." Like, it would have looked hilarious because I actually did the whole action of, like, when you sort of like go down and you go to jump out. Yeah. And I went, boom, and my feet did not leave the ground.
That's your body going, "What are you doing, mate?
Yeah,
What are you
correct.
This is not supposed to
This
happen.
is stupid. Don't do it. You're going to die."
But I genuinely didn't feel scared right until that point where I went to jump. And the guy was a Kiwi and he was like, "You're right, bro." And I was like, "Mate, it won't let me jump." And he cracked up and he went, "Just lean out." So we did the 3 again, 3, 2, 1, and I leant out and you went past the point of no return. Yeah. And it was awesome. Like, it was great fun. You know what I mean? Now, they missed my photo. So I got to go again for free. Yeah. But the second time, I was able to go off backwards. And you think about that. How many times in
I don't
life?
want to think about it.
No. Or I'll give you another analogy. A friend of mine took his child to the water slide. Yep. Put them up there. They were scared and all the rest of it. He made them go. but now they went on the water slide 50 times and they absolutely loved it. Or he could have actually went, no, it's okay. You know, and they were crying and stuff. So people were like, oh, what a horrible parent. I can't believe he's making him do that. But now that's something he can enjoy for the rest of his life. So once the scariest time we do anything is that first time. And then once we do it again, it gets less scary and less scary until all of a sudden, this is just something that is part of what you can do. Yeah.
It's funny because Chelsea still to this day, Chelsea's 21, my daughter, nearly 22. And I think she would have been 9. We went to Luna Park and I forced her to go on the roller coaster. And she will bring up to this day that she still will never go on a roller coaster again because of when I made her go on it. And she was 9. I'm being serious. Like she's like, no, because Dad made me go on one, and because she cried the whole time. She hated it, and so.
Well, at least she tried it and she didn't like it though.
It can go either way.
I think that one depends on the kid too.
Yeah.
Like even if I think I've got 3 boys, they're just so different. And yeah, there's one that tactic would absolutely work on. The other one probably. The third one might go the way of Chelsea. But yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. And I get you. Yeah. Sometimes I think if the environment is safe, that's the thing. If the environment is safe, then really what is there to lose? Because yes, okay, you might have the thing of, I don't like it, I'm not doing it again. All right, well, now you know. You tried it and you didn't like it and you went on. But sometimes we need that person that's already been through it, knows it's safe. It's like, look, you actually got nothing to lose here. Knock you off the edge.
Yeah. But also, is that the story that Chelsea's telling herself? Because Dad made me do it.
I could blame her, really.
Well,
I'm going to blame her.
You
now,
don't
just in
have to
case.
blame her, but she can take responsibility of that and go, yes, maybe I should try a small roller coaster. Maybe I'll go to,
The teacup.
teacup. That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe I'll go to the teacup. And let's just work our way up from there. So, but yeah.
Well, practically speaking, then, where or how do we handle, approach, and get through discomforts? Practically speaking.
Actually, okay, so roller coasters. This is both a happy story for me and a sad story. So for those that don't know me, I'm over 2 meters tall. For those that don't know, roller coaster rides have lower height limits. They also have upper height limits. I was petrified of roller coasters, refused to go on them. And I think it was until about the age of 14. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I have to get over this. I have to get over this. And it was the loop that freaked me out. They're like going upside down doing the loop. So at Dreamworld, there was this ride which was basically a constant loop the loop. So I'm like, okay, well, if I just put myself in one of those carriages, then I'm going to have to get over this because I'm just going to basically be doing loop the loop, 50 times. And by the time I get off, surely I'll be okay doing twice loop the loop on the other ones. And it worked. So it was bang. I did that, got over the fear, loved roller coasters. And then 12 months later, I was too tall to go on any roller coasters. So for 12 months, I really enjoyed roller coasters.
Is there a too tall limit, really?
There is, because of where the shoulder thing comes down.
okay,
It's like
yeah.
hydraulic. It just compresses you. I snuck onto one and I learned why it's not very comfortable.
Actually had that at, I think it was typical. Oh, it's gonna sound so bad, but typically it was in Disneyland in Japan. It's like they make all the rides just that slightly bit shorter for
so no point me going there.
shorter Japanese people. But I had that in a couple where I'm in and it's cramped me down because it's locked my shoulders down. So
Yeah. But so
Japanese
the
people only
push
3
there, I
foot
mean, in that
tall,
case,
that's all.
I was the one doing the push, but, I can't remember for sure, but I might have been there with some girls and wanted to, didn't want to be the guy saying, oh, I'm not going on a roller coaster. So I forget what it was, but whatever it was at the time, I decided enough's enough. I need to get over this. So I'm going to go the extreme and I'm going to just do loop the loop constantly until I'm comfortable with it. And then I'll go on the roller coaster. So that was my way in that time dealing with it and getting myself through it.
Jamie,
Yes, he.
same question to you, but how practically speaking, how would we as men approach discomforts?
I think just do it. Like, it comes back to you deciding who you want to be. Does that make sense? So if you want to be more than what you are now, you're going to have to push yourself to get out there. And I think just understanding those 3 zones where if you're in the comfort zone, you're not going to be growing very much. If you're in a learning zone and if you're feeling uncomfortable, just change that mindset where this is a good thing. I'm improving. I'm learning. I'm doing better. You know what I mean? And if you feel yourself get to that stage where what I call the danger zone, which is where it's eating away at your confidence level, then, just take that step back and just make sure you're in that learning zone for as long as possible, because that means that you're improving and you're going to work towards that person that you want to be, So, yeah, that's it.
Mikey, there was a situation that happened with you during the weekend. I don't know if you, you can probably, I guess, not mention names, but we were talking about situation at work with you bringing on a subcontractor.
Yep.
And I was thinking about it before when I was writing these questions out on how you and I were chatting it out prior, because you were about to have a very uncomfortable, awkward conversation with somebody. You didn't know what to say, how to bring it up. Finally went ahead and had it, and it went so smooth and had such a great outcome that you've rung me straight after going, mate, get this, because I knew the build up to it, and you did it. And
Yep. Well, that Jordan Peterson's, but I heard a piece on him saying it, and it's the devil you know versus the one you don't. The one you don't is so much worse. Let's just say you've got, I felt something in my chest. I should go and see the doctor. No, I won't. I don't want to I don't want to have that information. I'm better off not knowing. In your head, you're like, I've got weeks to live. It slowly gets worse and worse and worse. You go to the doctor and you're like, mate, you had heartburn. It's quite often the stuff that we don't know, we will just keep inflating and making it worse and worse and worse. It's like the conversation you don't have with your wife, or, in your head you're going, she's going to say this, she'll say that, or when you actually have the conversation, that's not where she went at all. It's completely different. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to step into these things, but it's not always that easy, is it? I mean,
no, it's not. And I think you just brought up a good point, because I think when you look at discomfort and you approach it in a way of, well, the reason we have discomforts are because of either a past experience we've had in a similar situation like that, or an unknown fear of what the outcome could be because we haven't had that experience yet. But like what you were saying, Jamie, but you're not going to get there unless you just don't. You have to face the discomforts in order to be. If you've decided that there is a certain type of man that you're going to be, you have to have those, not only confrontations, but those conversations, but those commitments to take action on those things to be that. So when you look at the reason we have discomforts are we have either had a bad experience or we're holding on to a fear of an uncertain outcome. So really, if you can confront those two things, you can basically confront anything that's discomforting.
100%. I think you got to prep your headspace for it first, though. Like you need to, because there is two ways it can go. If it is uncomfortable and it really does not go great, then after the fact, you're either going to go, I knew it, I shouldn't have tried it, or you're going to go, well, do you know what? I'm glad I did that. It's only better from here. But you can't walk into that without having prepped yourself first.
Yeah.
So when I was a nervous kid as a young kid, I would not. I remember in English class, you had to go around and teacher would pick someone to read, and you just go around. You'd have to follow the book. I would be petrified that they would pick me to read out. I remember my first job was working in a warehouse, and within 6 months they gave me a job in the office answering the phone. And I remember my first day, I would have been 16 and a half, nearly 17. The kid that was fairly shy, and I'm sitting in the office and the phone's ringing and I'm shitting myself. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What's going to happen? It's going to go terribly. I was taking orders. It was a food import-export business. I answer the phone. They tell me where they're from and they tell me what they want to get, and I have to write it on a piece of paper. And I was bricking it. This is going to go terribly. It got to the point where I had no other choice but to do it. And I did it. And it was nothing. It was easy. And I was like, oh, that was weird. Okay. A year later, I was one of the managers there. But I had to have the right headspace after the fact. I had to afterwards reassess that and go, there was a lot of stuff on that call that I got wrong. He didn't get his food. But
That's pretty
I
right.
took the call. I won.
Just the point on that though, like 90% of the stuff we worry about never eventuates anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if you were a gambling man and you had a 90% chance of success, would you put money on it? Like, but yet we sit there and we're so scared about doing something that 90% of the time the bad thing isn't going to eventuate and it leads to better things. So it is so important just to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, because the more you do that, the better you feel about it.
I think the bigger context is really important as well, because if all we've got to focus on is the thing that we're uncomfortable with, well, then it's like just telling yourself to go through with it because I'll get stronger or I'll improve somehow. That kind of comes down to discipline, and it can be quite challenging. But as an example, it's like if you're sitting there and there is freezing cold water in front of you, there's a lake, a pond, whatever, and it is like, ridiculously cold, thin layer of ice across the top. Aside from those that love, cold plunges, most people are going to go, yeah, probably not going to get in there. But then if there's a grizzly bear that comes out of the forest, starts charging towards you, all of a sudden you're not going to give a damn about the cold water. You're just going to go straight through and to the other side. Or if there happens to be the woman of your dreams on the other side and you've got to get through that cold water to get to the woman of your dreams, you're not going to think twice about the cold water. So I think it's also a thing of how do we take the focus beyond the discomfort and to, okay, well, what's the thing I'm moving away from, or what is the thing I'm moving towards? And something I heard a long time ago, and I hope I do it justice, but if you want to solve if you want to solve the problems that you have in your life now, just play a bigger game. Because if you're playing currently at the level of just you, well, the moment you take your focus and play the level of, say, family, and you start focusing on the needs of the family, your problems will just disappear. You'll just make them disappear because you now have bigger things to focus on. Then you can move beyond family to community, and community to, state to country to, every time you lift your focus to a higher level of problem, those other things you just make disappear. I think we also hold on to discomforts and problems because it allows us to stay in that position. It's like, I can't do this right now because I'm dealing with this, or I'd love to. Can't think of it. I'd love to do a house extension. I'd love to do this, but all of this stuff is happening at the moment. So as long as we keep that stuff around, there's a payoff by keeping that stuff around. There's a payoff by staying and keeping those discomforts around so that we can't move forward because it's safe, it's comfortable, it's what we know. And it's like a mentor of mine used to have us write these lists of things that aren't working, things that are working, and it's like if the same thing has come up on your list as something that's not working for the last 2 or 3 times we've done this, so over the course of 6 to 12 months, then you've got to ask yourself, why are you keeping that there? Because it's now a choice. If it was there once, fine. Twice, maybe. If it's still there 9 months later, you are choosing to keep it there. So why? What's the payoff?
Yeah, that's a good thought.
It's a really good point. Having that long-term goal and lifting it, because it is directional based, isn't it? And we can get caught up in just stupid stuff that's not going to benefit your life anyway. So if you do know where you want to go, it's easy to, find the directions to be able to get there. So,
Well, I'd say there's a lot of people out there that probably are at the point where they're so paralysed by what they've blown this thing into that they're struggling to go forward. I mean, what should that person do? If you're there and there is, I don't know what's next. Like I really am struggling. Like I'm whatever that is. Stopped your life.
yeah, get a goal and then work towards it. And sometimes the hardest thing is to find the goal. And one thing that I found is easier for people is ask themselves, because a goal is always set in the positive, isn't it? This is what I want. But if you're in that negative mindset, sometimes you can ask yourself, well, what don't I want? And then, so if that is the case, then you go, if you're waking up tired all the time, you could set the goal, okay, I want to get up at this time, or I want to have this much sleep, or all the rest of it. But if the goal is, okay, I don't want to feel tired anymore, then it's easy to go to that next step of how can I not feel tired? And it's just breaking down that goal. If the step is too far, just break it down further. Do you know what I mean? It's just every problem. I think most people know how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time.
You got to shoot it first.
You do have to shoot it first. But if it is too much, just break it down further. If it is too much, just break it down further. Yep. Like I remember one of the best things I ever did was because I wanted to actually wake up at a certain time, and that was my goal. And man, it just didn't work. So the best thing I did was instead of going, okay, I'm going to wake up at this time, I actually set a goal to go, I'm going to exhaust myself and my bedtime is this time, which helped me get up at that time. Because actually going out and exhausting myself before I went to bed and then setting that bedtime, this is what time I'm definitely going to go to bed, that actually helped me wake up earlier in the morning. So
I think even just the getting up, like for someone that is really struggling, I think that's actually the perfect place to start. And I remember Jordan Peterson even talking about this, and it's one of the things they focus on earliest with people is get your sleep rhythms right. Just start having, no matter what, Monday through Sunday, wake up at the same time every single day, because it works with our circadian rhythms and all sorts of stuff, has a whole lot of flow-on effects, but that's your first win. So, okay, whatever that time is, okay, if it's 6 a.m., 6:30, 5, 7, that's your first win. Start with small wins. And then, what's the next win? Okay, well, it might be I'm now getting up at 6 a.m. every single morning, and my next win is I'm going for a walk. Well, your next goal doesn't become I'm going for a walk. Your next goal is the night before I'm going to put out my joggers and my sports clothes. That's the target. That's the win. I put it out. My next win is put my joggers on. It's not go for a walk. It's put the joggers on. The walk will take care of itself once you've got the joggers on. I think that's in Atomic Habits, that whole habit stacking. And it's so true. Like I've built my entire morning routine around that and got that consistent thing happening in the morning just by following those same things. So it's, if you're really struggling, start. It's great to set that big, hairy, audacious goal, but then exactly one bite at a time. And sometimes those bites need to be really, really small just to start gaining momentum. But momentum can grow really quickly and very significantly over a relatively short period of time. It's just consistency. I think people get so caught up on, I need to do the big thing. I'm just going to absolutely, I haven't been to the gym in 10 years, so I'll go tomorrow and I'll absolutely smash myself. What's the chances of you going back day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5? No, just get up, go for a walk, or go into a light session, slowly build into it, and just make it that you're there every day, as opposed to belting yourself for the first time after 10 years.
I'll tell you one thing. I think confidence has a massive thing to do with it, because the more confident you are, the more you believe that you can do different things. But confidence is built by keeping those promises to yourself.
Yes.
So if you make a promise to yourself and you keep it, you feel good about yourself. You feel more confident. You're like, yes, I can do more. You break those promises, then you don't feel as good about yourself and your confidence drops. So, get those confident levels up. Get around people that believe in you and can help you there. And look, no matter what age you are right now, like an amazing exercise to do is just write down all the achievements you've done in your life. And you'd be absolutely surprised about all the amazing things that you've achieved to date without actually recognizing it or working on it. So, because everyone does have massive achievements and things that they're proud about over their life. And if we can just focus on that and keep the promises to yourself, well, then your confidence will build and you'll take on more.
Well, lads, I want to wrap it up with some final thoughts. We'll go around and get your final thoughts on that, but that was really, really good. So, Jamie, I'll start with you, buddy. So, how do men become comfortable in being uncomfortable?
Set a goal, keep in that learning zone, keep pushing yourself and build your confidence. That's basically.
Mikey, how do men become comfortable in being uncomfortable?
Mate, start small. Pick something, do it. Little small steps takes you a long way.
Good.
Pete?
You stole my words. Practice. Practice. And being okay and knowing that there are many others out there doing the same thing. And yep, sometimes we do fall flat on our face. That's okay. The world doesn't cave in. We just get up, we dust ourselves off, we go again. But yeah, if you're struggling with the confidence, then yeah, start with the small things. Start with the small things, build the confidence 100%. Like I think I'm amazed we reached to the end before that came up about, yeah, actually sticking to your word, being a man of your word and building confidence around your word. Because if you have confidence in your word and you know you follow through on your word and you say, I'm going to do it, well, then that's all you need.
Bang on. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us here again at the Men's Collective podcast. We are the Average Joes, and we hope you get a lot out of this podcast here. Like we say every week, make sure you hit up the socials, see where we are, all your local meetups, get along to them, grab some merch, but more importantly, jump on Spotify, jump on YouTube, give us a review. 5 stars, because these guys deserve 5 stars. So, gentlemen, thanks again once more for joining me. That was fantastic. Got a lot out of it. So, thanks again.
Cool. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Who's up for a sauna?
Who's up for some personal growth?
Yeah.